Standard 5. How we came to be. Environmental Studies, Part 2. Chapter number 2. History and the concept of time. Division of time and the timeline. There are different methods of reckoning time. Time is continuous, but for our convenience, we divide it into periods. The method that we use for reckoning time depends on our purpose for dividing it. End of the day, it becomes dark. At sunset, we say, it is evening now. Soon it will be night. At the end of the day, it becomes dark, and it is night. This means that we divide the day into two parts, day and night. Our Earth rotates around its axis at a certain speed. Similarly, it also revolves around the Sun. The Sun has its own light. We receive light from the Sun. However, we see light only in daytime. Nights are dark. How does this happen? As the Earth rotates around its axis, the part of its surface which turns towards the Sun becomes bright. The part that moves away from the Sun moves into darkness. The Earth takes 24 hours to complete one rotation around its own axis. These 24 hours are approximately divided into 12 hours of daytime and 12 hours of night. A period of daytime and the following night together make one day. 7 days from Monday to Sunday make 1 week. 2 weeks make a fortnight. 4 weeks make a month. 12 months make a year. In this manner, we reckon time in bigger and bigger units. 1 year is followed by another, and when 100 years go by, a century is completed. When 10 centuries, that is, 1,000 years are gone, a millennium is completed. In serial order. In history books, also, a chain of events that follow one after the other is presented in a linear and serial manner. For this, usually we refer to the Common Era, that means Christian Era, written in short as CE or AD, that means Anno Domini, which means in the year of our Lord. The calendar we use today is based on the Christian era, now called the Common Era. This era began in memory of Jesus Christ. The first year of this era is the year or Christian era, the period before the Common Era is known as the time before Common Era, that means BCE, or before Christ, that means BC. Common Era began at the year 1000 BCE and ended with the year 1 BCE. So, the first century before the Common Era is indicated as 100 to 1 BCE, and the first millennium before the Common Era is indicated as 1000 to 1 BCE. Let us look at some examples of this method of indicating time before the Common Era or Christian Era. The lifetime of Vardhaman Mahavir is written as 599 BC to 527 BC. The lifetime of Gautam Buddha is written as 563 BC to 483 BC. Measurement of time and methods of measuring time. To measure time is to measure the length of time. We know the following units of measuring time: second, minute, hour, day, week, fortnight, month, year, century, and millennium. A second is the smallest of these units. There are various methods of measuring time in different parts of the world. Of this, the common or Christian era is the most widely used. We generally indicate a particular day by writing the date of that day. The date consists of serial number of that day followed by the name or serial number of the current month and then the serial number of the current year. There are other methods too. We have seen 24 eras had started a new era or Shak known as Rajabhishek Shak in 1674 AD to commemorate his coronation. Shalivahan Shak and Vikram Samvat are two eras that are used in India. The founder of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, migrated from Mecca to Medina. The Hijri era was started to commemorate this event. The Parsi community in India uses the Shahenshahi era. Historical periods. We learned in the first lesson that history is a science that tells us about events that happened in the past. We also learned that every bygone moment makes up the past. The past is the subject matter of history. In a broad sense, the period of history goes back to the time of the birth of our solar system. Our solar system came into being about 4.5 billion years ago. Is a 4.5 billion years ago. The span of 4.5 billion years since the Earth's formation is a vast period of time. It is not easy to grasp this entire period all at once. It is necessary to divide it into a number of stages in order to understand it better. Therefore, the time in history is divided into two main periods. 1. Prehistoric period. 2. Historic period. 1. Prehistoric period. Prehistory simply means before history. The prehistoric period is the period for which no written records are available by which to write its history. 2. Historic period. The historic period is the period for which written records are available, using which we can write history. Scientific methods of measuring time and establishing age, that means dating. We are actually measuring time when we talk about today's date or day of the week, etc. We have seen there are various methods of measuring time. These methods allow us to identify particular day, month or year with respect to an earlier or later day, month or year. For example, if it is June, then we know that the earlier month was May and the next one will be July. If today is the 10th of June, then we can tell that tomorrow will be the 11th of June and yesterday was 9th of June. Thus, when we measure time, we actually measure its length. The events before the beginning of Common Era are mentioned as having occurred before the Common Era. Information about some of these events can only be obtained with the help of evidence buried under the ground. This evidence is usually in the form of broken man-made artifacts and fallen structures. With the help of these remains and using scientific methods, we can determine the time of the events that took place thousands of years ago. There are many layers of soils deposited one above the other under the surface of the ground. The period of these layers and of the remains found in them cannot be stated definitely in terms of dates. However, a rough estimate of roughly to 3000 BC. Then we can of dating techniques, we can say that the earthen pot dates back roughly to 3000 BC. Then we can conclude that the period of the culture to which the pot belongs must be around 3000 BC. Do you know this? 1 billion or 1 abj. Do you know how many years make up 1 billion years? We know that the number we get by writing 3 zeros after 1 is 1000, and the number that we get by putting 4 zeros after 1 is 10,000. We also know the mathematics behind it. 100 into 10 is equal to 1000, and 1000 into 10 is equal to 10,000. Let us see how the numbers increase further in the same manner. 100 into 10 is equal to 1000. 1000 into 10 is equal to 10,000. 10,000 into 10 is equal to 100,000 or 1 lakh. 1 lakh into 10 is equal to 10 lakh or 1 million. 10 lakh into 10 is equal to 1 crore or 10 million. 1 crore into 10 is equal to 10 crore or 100 million. 10 crores into 10 is equal to 1 abj or 1 billion. Willard Libby, 1908 to 1980. Dating methods. Carbon-14 is a radioactive element that is found in the bodies of all living organisms. After the death of an organism, the carbon-14 in the body begins to decrease. When pieces of wood, charcoal, bones, fossil, etc. from the prehistoric period are found, it is possible to measure the remaining C14 in a laboratory. By measuring the remaining C14 in the object, we learn how old the object is. This scientific method which these objects belonged. Then it can be placed on the unilinear timeline. As the tree grows in height, the trunk also grows in girth. A new rings appears for every year of the growth of the girth. The rings can be seen when the tree is cut. If we count the rings, we came to know the age of the tree. This can also be used to determine the age of the wooden artifact. This method is known as the tree ring method. That means dendrochronology.